Can you get a walkthrough in Tarrant County instead of being arrested? Every criminal case in Texas begins with an arrest, but an arrest on paper doesn't always mean that the person is taken into custody in handcuffs, placed in a cell, and then released. Instead, sometimes we have what's called a walkthrough. A walkthrough means a person shows up at jail, turns themselves in, they go through some processing without going into a jail cell, and then they're released right back out. So they're not going into custody, although on paper it'll say they're arrested. So we sometimes get the question, can you get a walkthrough in Tarrant County? Over the years, this has become more and more difficult, and it's almost an impossibility to get a walkthrough in Tarrant County these days. There are a number of reasons for this. First of all, we have changed in Tarrant County the process of how a person is magistrated. It used to be the case that people who were arrested were taken to city magistrates, arraigned there. The magistrate would tell them what the charges were and set a bond. So the judge could easily waive that magistration if the parties agreed. Instead, now everyone is brought to Tarrant County. When you're brought to Tarrant County, you'll be put in a line of people who are waiting to see a central magistrate, and that magistrate will review the facts of the case and set a bond amount. Because it's central magistration, it's much harder to get your book-in waived, your actual arrest process where you're taken to a cell. In order for a walkthrough to happen in Tarrant County, first you have to have a bond amount set by the city as opposed to the central magistrate. As I said, that's become rarer as time has gone on, to the point where we almost never see bonds set at the city level. And that's by design. Tarrant County has taken the position that it is the county's responsibility to bring in people who have been arrested and set the bonds here. So getting a city judge to set that bond amount, first of all, will be a challenge. Second, in order to waive the process where you would be formally magistrated in Tarrant County, you have to also get the probable cause affidavit to the central magistration judge before you're brought in. Typically, a detective is not going to release the probable cause affidavit to you or your attorney. There are exceptions. For example, we recently had an officer who was arrested, and of course the police department bent over backwards to help, and they sent us the probable cause affidavit. Some detectives will not send over the affidavit at all. Some will say, well, we'll send it to the magistrate on duty, and then you've got to figure out who the magistrate on duty is. So there are some logistical hurdles in getting that probable cause affidavit to central magistration. Additionally, you have to file a waiver of magistration assuming conditions 1 and 2, that is getting the bond set at the city level, and 2, getting the probable cause affidavit over to the central magistrate before the magistrate will allow you to waive magistration in Tarrant County. The reason for that second step, if you're wondering why the central magistrate might still need to see you, is because the magistrate here would be responsible for setting bond conditions. So it's not just a question of was the initial bond set at the right amount, but the judge at central magistration also wants to ensure that bond conditions are set that are appropriate for your case. Also know that there are certain types of cases where a walkthrough is simply not possible from a legal standpoint. So for example, if you are charged with an assaultive offense, most assaultive offenses require that you spend a night in jail before you're released. So under those circumstances, even if you fulfilled all 3 of those conditions, you would not be allowed to waive magistration and have the walkthrough simply because our statutes don't allow you to do so. So if you're hoping to get a walkthrough in Tarrant County, understand it's a possibility under most circumstances. However, it will be extremely challenging to actually see that all fall into place in practice. This video was made in response to questions that we've received on this channel in the past. If you have a criminal question that you'd like for us to answer, just drop a comment below and we'll be happy to answer that in a future video.